And welcome back, everybody. On this episode of the Rugby Review, we're going to be going through Round 5 in the Major League Rugby. So Round 5's game schedule looked like this. One game played on April 24th. That was between the Seattle Seawolves and the Chicago Hounds. And then 2 days later, April 26th, there were two games played. First game was between New England Free Jacks and Anthem RC, followed by Old Glory DC versus California Legion. So here are the results of Round 5. The first game of the week between Chicago and Seattle was another dominant performance by Chicago. Chicago won this game by a score of 59-22 over Seattle. Just absolutely dominated. So we're going to take a peek at the stat sheet here. And, if you're kind of outside of tries scored, if you look at, kind of the top half, definitely from overall possession down to meters gained. So pretty even game, just looking at the stats here. But then once you get down to clean breaks all the way down to penalties conceded, you can really see how Chicago is just playing better than Seattle during the course of this game. So again, Chicago has the advantage in tries scored 9 tries on the game, securing a nice bonus point victory. But again, overall, possession and territory, pretty even between the two teams. Comparable amount of tackles made between the two teams, very physical game. Both teams making over 190 tackles this particular game. Seattle did have a bit more missed tackles during the course of this game, which Chicago absolutely took advantage of. But even if you look at meters gained, very comparable between the two. Seattle even had the slight edge there. But as we start to look at this bottom half of the stats here, we start to see offensively and defensively and overall discipline-wise that Chicago is just much more efficient, bit better of a team this particular week. So again, 33 missed tackles for Seattle this week. Chicago was able to make that translate into 11 clean breaks, whereas with Seattle, they had 4 clean breaks on 21 missed tackles for Chicago. So Chicago did a much better job translating missed tackles into clean breaks, which then led to many scoring opportunities. Chicago also did a great job defensively, as we can see, with 12 turnovers won at the ruck time to just 3 for Seattle. So not only offensively are they doing a good job, but defensively they're playing very well also. And then Seattle, ill-disciplined just overall during the course of the game, and then ill-disciplined from a handling perspective. A lot of turnovers lost, 15 turnovers lost for Seattle, and 14 penalties conceded to just 7 penalties for Chicago. So lots of handling errors, lots of ill-discipline, plus strong play and efficient play by Chicago leads to the outcome that we have for this particular game. So again, another super strong performance for Chicago. Chicago, I think, is just making a point this year that the championship is theirs to lose. But we shall see as the rounds progress. So again, good, strong bonus point victory for Chicago this week. And they'll probably carry that momentum into round 6 as well. So let's look back at the scorecard here. The next game that was played was the first game on April 26th. Again, was between New England and Anthem, in which we see New England getting their first victory of the season by a score of 38-26 over Anthem. And so as we look at the stat line here, to me this is going to be a game that I think Anthem lost more than Free Jacks won, because there's just a lot of stats that would suggest Anthem was playing well, except they had the dropsies this particular game. So possession plus territory in advantage of Anthem. Free Jacks did happen to score more tries this particular game. But with the possession advantage to Anthem, Free Jacks did have to put in quite a big shift defensively. Free Jacks did have quite a large number of missed tackles this particular week. Anthem also had a lot of missed tackles, especially in comparison to the number that they made. But if we really look at, I would say Anthem did play pretty strongly. They had 645 meters gained during the course of the game to 366 for the Free Jacks. Again, 37 missed tackles for the Free Jacks, translated to 20 clean breaks for Anthem. Now, Free Jacks did have a high conversion rate themselves. 22 missed tackles for Anthem translated to 12 clean breaks for Free Jacks. So both teams were able to take advantage of a large number of missed tackles. But the one area that I think killed Anthem this week, again, as I said, they had the dropsies. So there were 23 turnovers lost for Anthem this week. Free Jacks had quite a large number themselves, 13, but 13 compared to 23 is amazing. So just a significant number of, just handling errors for Anthem this week killed all their offensive momentum and did not let Anthem take advantage of just how strong offensively they played this week. So, good win for the Free Jacks. They get a bonus point as well. And then Anthem does walk away with a scoring bonus point, but definitely probably wanted to walk away with the victory considering they were probably the better team this particular week, except for the handling errors. So anyway, let's go back to the scorecard one last time. And the last game of the week was between Old Glory and California Legion, in which Legion won by a score of 36-23 over Old Glory. So good road victory for California. And this stat sheet is very similar to the Anthem Free Jacks game in the sense that Old Glory, at least on paper, was the better team, but California ended up winning the game. So, what can you say about that? So, as we dive into this, California had the tries scored advantage, 5 tries scored. It gave them the winning bonus point victory this week. And then as we scroll down a little further, possession plus territory very much skewed towards Old Glory, which is, forcing California to play a lot of defense, which we can see with 200 tackles made on the game. And to kind of emphasize how similar Anthem Free Jacks game was to California Old Glory game, this one, look at the number of meters gained for this particular game. 595 meters gained for Old Glory, 395 for California. Just a huge number of meters gained for Old Glory. They've got the possession advantage, territory advantage, 200 tackles made by California, so California's having to put in a very tiring shift defensively. Almost 600 meters gained. This is a recipe for, theoretically, a strong home win for Old Glory. But look at turnovers lost. 21 turnovers lost for Old Glory. Just completely shooting themselves in the foot. They had so much offensive momentum. They were running all over the place, but lots of handling errors killed their offensive momentum, kept them from having a good conversion rate, and allowed California to get the road victory. So, strong bonus point victory for California this week, and then Old Glory obviously will look to bounce back and kind of improve on their handling errors when it comes to next week or next round. So that's all the games for round 5. Let's take a look at the live ladder. And so obviously we have Chicago sitting at the top of the leaderboard here pretty handsomely. 4 wins in 4 games, bonus point victory in every single game. I don't think Chicago has scored less than 50 points this season. I'd have to go back and double check, but I think this is Chicago's championship to lose. Chicago has just been dominating every single game that they've played this year. But we're about halfway through the season, so we'll see what the back half of the season brings. Sitting behind Chicago is California at 3-2, followed by Anthem at 2-3. In the 4 spot, we have Old Glory DC sitting at an even 2-2. And then we see Free Jacks actually moved up to the 5 spot this week, while Seattle dropped down 1 spot just because of the way the results were. In previous results, Free Jacks got a losing bonus point at one point in time. So we see the Free Jacks sitting at spot number 5 after 5 rounds, and Seattle sitting in the bottom 6 spot. So that is the live ladder board, and here is the game schedule for round 6. So in round 6, Anthem plus California Legion are going to have a bye week because Anthem and California kicked off the season as the only 2 teams playing in round 1, so they get a mid-season bye week, and the other 4 teams have the opportunity to make up that game that they missed round 1. So May 3rd, there will be New England Free Jacks playing Seattle Seawolves, and following that game, Chicago Hounds will be playing Old Glory DC. So that's it for round 5 in the MLR. If you made it this far in the video, thank you. And if you liked the video, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and if you know anybody that might also be interested in this type of content, feel free to share it with them. Have a good one, and I will see you for round 6.